Hey, good afternoon. This is Kevin Ellis, once again, local president of 2338 in Poplar Bluff, Missouri. And I'm asking for your vote to be vice president of council, the National VA Council, Council 53. At a time like this, it really takes strong leadership. It takes someone with the insight to recognize when you have to make a shift, and you have to make the shift now. I'm going to give you a couple of examples as to what I mean when I say that. And you cannot be afraid as a leader to lead people. You have to be willing to make the tough decisions when that time comes. I shared with you earlier that I served in the Army for about 10 years. And my favorite duty station was serving in the Berlin Brigade in Berlin, Germany. And while I was there, I was a section leader. I was a squad leader. At one point, I was the acting platoon sergeant as an E5 of E6s within my platoon. I was just, I enjoyed leading. I enjoyed being the front person, and I enjoyed leading with courage and with determination. And something happened that really shook me to my core while I was in Berlin that I would never, ever forget as long as I lived. Being stationed in Berlin, we were close to the Berlin Wall. Matter of fact, being at McNair Barracks, we were probably a quarter to a half a mile from the Berlin Wall. You could see the Berlin Wall from McNair Barracks. And I remember times that we would do PT runs by that wall. And we could see the guard in the guard tower, and they could see us. And we knew that if the call came, that we had to man up, get our weapons, be ready to fight. We had to do it quickly because we would watch Hind Ds fly along the course of that wall. Russian helicopters. We would watch them fly that close to us. And at one particular point, the Kuwait War broke out. And I was stationed in Berlin. And when you called an alert means something's happening. We need you to get back to base in full gear, ready to go, ready to ship out right now, today. One particular occasion, an alert was called during the time that the Kuwait War was happening. And we remember getting our bags packed, thinking this is our time to go. We're headed to combat. We are on our way to combat, guys. Be ready. And I remember sharing with some of my soldiers, guys, this is it. Let's go. It's our time. This is it. We are ready to go. And we lined up in formation. I think it was 3 or 4 platoons out there, about 30 soldiers per platoon. So maybe 120 to 130 people, soldiers ready to go. Sergeant First Class Washington comes, Sergeant Washington comes forward, calls us to attention, and then turns over the formation to the company commander, Captain Daughters. And the next minute shook me to my core. Captain Daughters began crying. He cried like a baby in front of his entire company. He cried and said that I did not come into the military to have to go to war. I came into the military for the educational benefits. I never thought that I would have to go to war. And I'm worried that going to combat is something that I didn't think was ever going to happen. Now, here is the company commander of a combat infantry unit crying in front of his soldiers how he didn't expect to go to war. And I couldn't help but think, are you crazy? You want us to follow you into combat? And you crying and afraid? I'm thinking, oh my God. I felt sorry for my soldiers. I felt bad for them. And I had to give them, we all had a conversation that, look, guys, if we have to go to combat with him, this is not going to be good. Well, we did not call to go to combat, but we were ready to go. And within 24 hours of that crying incident by that company commander, he was gone. He was no longer our company commander. He was out of there. That is the definition of scared leadership. Something that we do not need at a time like this. You have to be able to meet the moment with what's happening on the ground. You can't always wait and think that it's going to pass, it's going to be okay. And the moment we were being complacent, the other side kept getting worse and worse and worse. You might also, some of you may know this now, but the Brazilian government held their former president accountable for trying to steal the election. That former president attempted a coup in Brazil, and the Brazilian government did not wait. They acted immediately because they saw the threat that the country would have been under had they sit on their hands and allowed the coup and all of it, everything around it to go unanswered. We all watched January 6, 2020. We watched it with our own eyes. We watched them try to tear down and break into the Capitol. People in the Capitol died. They lost their life. Some of them are having PTSD and mental challenges from what happened. And from 2020 to 2023, our Department of Justice did nothing to the leader of that coup. Unlike Brazil, Brazil acted immediately because they saw and recognized the threat. Our country did not react, did not recognize the threat. Matter of fact, some of us in Congress were complacent and tried to go along with overturning of the election. But for some reason, we did not recognize that threat. For 3 years, all you heard from Donald Trump and MAGA people was the 2020 election was stolen. And the entire world knew the election had not been stolen. But for 3 years, our Department of Justice did nothing. Why? Because they were complacent and they were afraid of what it might look like if they charged the person who led a coup. They eventually charged him in 2023. But it was 3 years too late. Why not charge him in 2020 when it first happened? Why did the U.S. government not act in the same way the Brazilian government acted? They acted immediately. Why? Because they recognized the threat. They knew what it would be like if the person that tried to overthrow the government and steal the election through a coup was allowed to try it again. They knew the threat. But for some reason, in this country, our national leaders failed to recognize that threat. Even as late as 2025, Chuck Schumer had the ability to stop the big, ugly bill from getting through the Senate. He had the ability to stop it. But he said, I passed the bill, I'll let it go through because I just knew the Republicans were going to come back to their senses and come back to the table and operate in good faith. I'm sorry. That was being naive. That was being naive as hell to think that they were going to come back to the table, and they spent the past 4 years saying everything bad about the government. That's being naive. We do not need naive, complacent leaders at a time like this. We are all watching this administration do all they can to get rid of unions. And I'm still asking myself, what are we doing? What are we doing? Who have we galvanized to work with us? What are we doing? It's not good. Okay? So you have to be a strong leader You have to meet the times in which you are dealt with. None of us expected for this to happen in 2020, but it did. We saw the coup attempt happen. We saw people die, and yet we failed to recognize the threat. And for some reason, as a union, we put our faith in Secretary Dennis Madonna. And I don't understand why. I don't. This is what it means to be complacent and naive. And I'm asking for your vote as Vice President of Council 53, the National VA Council. We will not survive the next 3 months, the next 6 months, or the next 9 months as a union. We won't survive. And we have to ask ourselves, what union are we leaving to our children and our grandchildren? Trust me, in the 1920s and 30s and 40s and 50s, to get this union up and running, it took some hard decisions. It took the union confronting the employers. It took the union confronting members of Congress. Had they not done that, we would not have a union today. We have to take these hard battles on. We have to be equipped for the battle that we're facing right now. And right now, I'm not really sure that we are meeting that need. And I base that assessment on what we have done for the past 9 years. Since 2016 through today, what have we done to meet the need? Once again, I'm asking for your vote to be Vice President of Council 53, the National VA Council. God bless you, and you'll hear more from me shortly. Have a good day.